to Abraham Lincoln, we cannot escape history. We will be remembered in spite of ourselves. The fiery trial through which we now pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the next generation. We hold the power, and we bear the responsibility. The Gate City Bar Association has held true to its responsibility over its 42-year history, a history that reflects honor, integrity, and service. Why was there a need for such an association in 1948?
The reason we were founded is so that black lawyers would have more opportunities to come together and to do good for the black community and the community at large. Also, at the time we were founded, we could not be members of the Atlanta Bar Association or of any other of the predominantly white bar associations in this part of the country. So we were founded, in a sense, out of necessity.
Shortly after the end of World War II, Atlanta had a lot of problems, and the few lawyers in Atlanta, Georgia, had no association. Colonel A.T. Walden, the oldest black lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia, called us together one day and said he thought we should start a bar association. Now, when I say called us together, let me emphasize that there were only 10 at that time practicing law in this city. There was what we call the Walden Group, which consisted of Colonel A.T. Walden, Charles Clayton, E.S. DeAntignac, and Rachel Pruden Herndon, the first female practitioner. Then you had the Henry Group, which consisted of T.J. Henry, E.E. Moore Jr., S.S. Robinson, and myself. There were 2 independents, Colonel Salter, J.E. Salter, and Colonel T.W. Holmes. Those were the 10 original founders of the Bar Association. We met and found that we were all very enthusiastic, so we set about to adopt programs for the betterment not only for ourselves, but also for the community at large. In the beginning, we met at different restaurants once a month. And believe it or not, with all of the divergent views, personalities involved with these 10 people, we were just like a family. Each month, if anyone had a case that was giving him some trouble, he would present it to the group. We all would take notes, and we'd take it down, and we would think about it for the next month, and we'd come back, if it wasn't set for trial prior to then, and attempt to aid this particular lawyer in solving some of the legal problems that he was encountering in his or her suit. This kept up for a long period of time and was very, very helpful.
I came to Atlanta after finishing law school in 1950 and started practicing law in 51. And I can recall there were just about 10 lawyers here in the city. And there was one other woman, Mrs. Herndon. Really, there were actually 2 women because Doris Blayton was in the practice of law at that time, came on about the same time that I did. However, she basically worked in her family's enterprise, which was Blayton Business College and some other kind of Blayton School of Accounting, I'm not sure, but anyway, her father was a very prominent CPA. As a matter of fact, I think he was the first CPA in the state of Georgia, black CPA in the state of Georgia. And we had a very, very close association. We always discussed very freely among and between ourselves about our practice. We found it very easy to talk with each other about just plain, everyday, bread and butter things. How to obtain clients, how to keep clients. But most of all, the focus was on doing an excellent job of representing your clients. It was at a time when I would imagine in the entire country there were no more than 2,000 to 3,000 black attorneys, almost no black judges to speak about. I think maybe Miss Bowling, who was in New York, may have been on the bench at that time, but I don't think that there were many that you really could just say that there were black judges. But we found that in sharing this information between and among ourselves, even legal decisions and legal discussions on how to perform your job a little bit better was the way in which we operated. We kept abreast of what was happening in the legal community by inviting several of the white attorneys and many of the white judges who were what you might call sympathetic to our cause, or who felt that the legal profession should embrace all of those who were a part of the legal profession, those who had the attitude that if you went to law school, you passed the bar, that you ought to be an integral part of the legal profession. And they would come and talk with us about the broader practice of the law and keep us abreast of many of the issues which were happening in the broad bar association.
By the time I got here, which was late 51, there still weren't but about 15 black lawyers in this city, and maybe 2 others in the state. Those 2, I suppose, would have been in Savannah. I know there was 1 over there. None in Augusta, none in Macon, none in Albany. I'm not sure whether Mr. Thompson had come to Columbus or not by that time. But the need was great. Being so small in number and the whole matter of activity in the judicial system being one of great segregation, we were forced to be together just in order to try to keep up with what was happening. One has to remember that not only was the bar completely white insofar as membership in the Atlanta Bar Association, but you could not attend, that is, blacks could not attend any of the conferences, the seminars, or any of the other activities which were calculated to help lawyers keep up with what was going on. And when you take that situation and add to that the fact that every bailiff, every secretary, every clerk, every judge in the whole of the system was non-black, and that we had a system of jury which excluded to some extent blacks, one can understand that in an effort to get justice and to help others get justice, it was necessary for those few black lawyers to try to come together from time to time and try to help their own situation for their own benefit, and also make it be helpful to the run of black citizens in the city and hopefully in the county and the state.
Many programs were started in this early period. such as the one started of necessity by attorney R.E. Thomas to educate the public and to enhance the practice of black lawyers in the Gate City of Atlanta.
At the time the Bar Association was started, I walked down Auburn Avenue one day and I saw a lady whom I knew, and I mentioned the name of Mr. Walden. This lady did not even know that Mr. Walden existed, and I pointed to the building in which his office was, and she did not live very far from that, but she had said she had never heard of Mr. Walden. That astounded me. And at the next meeting, I told them we would have to do something about this. The net result was the great question: how could we educate the public? But we wanted to educate the public not only for our own financial gain, but also to enhance the practice of law in this city for Negroes. Some of you may not be old enough to remember the hard times that the black lawyers had in the courts prior to that time. Then after Mr. Walden served as president, then Mr. Henry did, and they asked me to serve. And I came up with a program with the churches, thinking about that lady who did not know that Mr. Walden existed. She went to church, she told me. The Bar Association was very enthusiastic, and I interviewed quite a few of the ministers in town, pastors of churches. We worked out a schedule. Once a month we would go to a different church with a different legal topic, and members of the bar would present them. And if they asked questions, as they usually did, about other fields of the law, we would attempt to answer those also. We had tremendous success, and then after the first year they decided that I should be president for another year to finish this program, which I was grateful for. And once again, we did the same thing that year that we had done previously. We also met with success then. So I'm sure that all of those 10 people would be very, very proud if they could see the present Bar Association. May I say here, a lot of people do not realize that there are other members of the original 10 that are still living. They think that I am the only survivor. There are 2 others still in existence. Charles Clayton and E. Moore Jr. are still living, although they are not active.
During my tenure, among the issues facing the Gate City Bar Association, there were several. One was seeking to get black lawyers involved, and at that time we were beginning to get a larger number of blacks admitted to the bar, to impress upon them the importance of that type of association, because when I joined the Gate City Bar Association, the bar associations in Georgia were still segregated. Another was seeking to develop some programs which not only had outreach to the minority lawyer, but which had outreach to the lawyer in general. That is, to impress upon the young lawyers that first of all, you must be a good lawyer. You got to be prepared, and you must take your business seriously, and things of that nature. Now, one unusual issue that faced me when I was president of the Gate City Bar Association was whether we should admit whites to the Gate City Bar. That might have been ironic, but I think it was at that time that Lawrence Ashe was admitted as the first white member.
The founders of the Gate City Bar Association endured humiliating discrimination to pave the way for those of us who would follow, so that we might have full privileges in the practice of law.
Well, a small bunch of attorneys, all were not in the same fields. Mr. Walden was the chief litigator, E. Moore Jr. and S.S. Robinson, and in the beginning I did some of it. Of course, later I branched out into other fields and I had to give up the practice in the courts. Then we had some that came on later, notably Donald L. Hollowell, Romeo Turner, and they did a tremendous job in pursuing the rights of our people in the courts. There were some tense moments at times, but as a whole, we received fair treatment as far as it goes. Now, I realize you're not going to understand what I'm saying, but the other population, I do believe, realized that the end had come, and was fast coming, that Negro attorneys would be able to practice in the courts here in Atlanta with full privileges. There were some bad instances. One of my associates was refused a seat in a certain judge's courtroom with the other lawyers who were there. And that was awful. But we soon corrected that. And great strides have been made, and I'm very proud to see that they have. And as I said before, I'm very proud of the Bar Association as it exists now, with a huge membership, far, far cry from the original 10.
I think that one has to at least mention the fact that in 1961, during the time when President John Kennedy was the president, an opportunity came for the bar to have Dean Rusk, who was the Secretary of State, come and speak to the Bar Association of Atlanta, the Atlanta Bar Association, and there was a refusal on the part of Dean Rusk to come because he was told that the audience would be segregated. He asked the question, and he was told that it was a segregated audience, and so he said he could not speak, and it was the practice coming down from the president that the officials in the cabinet would not be speakers at events where the audiences were segregated.
Many of the cases handled by our founders and courageous members laid the groundwork for equal opportunity in this state and in this nation.
The so-called Goff suit was the first desegregation case to hit Atlanta, Georgia. There had been a case involving school teachers, but it was not integration. And this was something unheard of, to ask for equal rights, participation on the golf courses. One evening, a group of young men met in the basement of Frazier's Cafe, and they decided that they wanted to play golf on the city-owned golf courses, as they were taxpayers also. They called me and asked me if I would take a chance with such a suit. I knew all of them very well, and I told them I'd be glad to. So I enlisted the aid of two of my associates, S.S. Robinson and E.E. Moore Jr., and we went to work. We had a lot of fun. The plaintiffs consisted of 3 members of Dr. H.M. Holmes' family, he and 2 of his sons. We enlisted the aid of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and they came in at a later date. However, it was very interesting. When we went to trial, we didn't expect to win. We knew that we'd have to go all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. It was an adverse verdict. And then the city authorities had a meeting, so I was told, and they realized that we were not going to stop. And they, in some manner, contacted 2 individuals in the black race and made a proposition. And I was called and asked to accept it. Well, I guess those of in the legal profession that know me very well know that my dand immediately went to the ceiling. And I had a conference with the 2 gentlemen. And I told them I could not accept that that these young men wanted to play golf. They made an offer for them to play Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And the rest, no. A meeting was called, they called a meeting rather, I would say, public meeting, the basement of Bethel AME Church, and asked me to come. I did. They presented this to the populace, and I yet do not know how the populace felt, because I steadfastly refused to accept it, and they got nowhere. And they said I was making a huge mistake, this, that. I think you can understand what they said. But at any rate, we pursued this case through the higher court in New Orleans, and we were expecting a verdict there, which we did not get. But an interesting thing happened in New Orleans. The attorney representing the city of Atlanta, in his presentation to the judge, had a long list of statistics, one of which amused me, and it was all I could do was to get my partner, E.E. Moore, to keep his seat and not object. I said, this is interesting. Let's find out what they're going to say next so we can carry back home and laugh about it. There were such topics as the number of black children that they aided at Grady Hospital to give birth to illegitimate children. Things of that sort. So it was a huge joke. But at any rate, it went to the Supreme Court with a companion case in New Jersey, and as we all know, we won the decision. Members of the Holmes family were plaintiffs in the golf suit, one of which was Alfred Tubb Holmes, and we were very, very proud that one of the municipal golf courses was renamed in his honor.
Gate City Bar members have courageously sought to better the condition of African Americans in the legal profession and in the community at large.
I don't know that it will photograph that well, but this is one of my favorite photographs. It contains three gentlemen who are now much older than they were around 1960. It is a picture of A.T. Walden, Donald Hollowell, and Horace Ward. As a matter of fact, this is the day I went to the state capitol to file my papers to run for the state senate from the 39th district. And in those days, everybody stuck together. Hollowell and Walden went down there to encourage me and to stand with me at that time.
The future of our association has a solid foundation on which to build, one of service.
The reason why I went into the field of law, I went into the field of law to help people, and to help more specifically my people, black people, and to help people who were downtrodden. That's no more motivation. The motivation mostly now that I have perceived is money. And I frankly feel that when we discuss and encourage the young people to go into the field of law, that we need to discuss all the ramifications of the field and be honest with them, because as I see it, that the trend in the future, in the next decade, is that the field is saturated. Now, if their motivation of going into the field is strictly monetary and materialistic, then I think that they need to begin to focus perhaps on some other profession.
We have had to move on two levels, that is, black people. We've had to move on the level of being black in a society where we had been isolated, and we have had to move on the level of being professionals in a general society, and we still have to do that. Now, there is no substitute for being professional and first class in what you do. But until such time as the society is fully integrated and the bar is fully integrated, and of course you can be a member of any bar association now, and the business is business clients choose lawyers, all clients choose lawyers without regard to race, creed, or color. There will probably be a need, not probably, there will be a need of for an organization like the Gate City Bar Association.
And indeed, we have come a mighty long way.
There was a lawyer, a friend of mine, who nominated me to receive the Tradition of Excellence Reward, or not reward, it is a reward, but it's an award that you get as a reward for service, I suppose. The nominations came in and they were very glowing for some reason or other, and they voted me one of the awards along with two other members of the bar. I would have you to understand that anyone, well, at least for myself, being a recipient of that award suggests to me, says to me, and ought to suggest to others, that I have been the beneficiary of an awful lot of assistance and cooperation from a number of lawyers in my firm at that time and from others. And you don't get those kinds of awards unless you have been fortunate enough to have that kind of cooperation. I'm most proud of the award, but I am also most pleased to share it with all of those who have been so gracious as to lend assistance to me over the years.
Today we have progressed very far from those early days, and we owe our founders quite a great deal. Black lawyers in the city of Atlanta are in all phases of our legal profession. We are corporate lawyers, we're judges, we are government lawyers, some of us are labor lawyers. We come together and we were about 500 strong. We are trying to attempt to carry on the good graces and the goodwill of our founders.
No, we cannot escape history. But the significance of the Gate City Bar Association tradition is that the fiery trial has been conducted with honor and with courage. Now we are, and must become more so, an integral part of the bar and the judiciary of this Gate City, this state, and this nation. We now serve in the highest levels of the judiciary in this state, in major law firms, in corporate counsel suites, in government policy-making positions, in general practice, and in the most powerful political arenas. We cannot escape history. We will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. We hold the power, and we bear the responsibility. For the Gate City Bar Association, we are upholding a mighty tradition of service.